Help me. That affirmation that's at the top of the page. Together, please. In one spirit, we see God everywhere, in everyone and in everything. Yes, I know. It's a commitment. It's a big commitment. We'll try it just for today. So what's the good news? Birthdays, anniversaries.
I got a year on Friday.
Yes, Priscilla. Thank you.
Homecoming yesterday for my niece. That was a lot of fun.
My granddaughter, yeah.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
And I was successful. I have 2 feral cats hanging around my house, and I've been feeding them for the last 3 months. They trust me now, so I trapped them, had them neutered, and now they're in my house recuperating.
Oh, how wonderful.
Congratulations.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I'm real happy about that because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get them. But there's a program that Noah's Animal Hospital has that if it's a stray or a feral cat, it's a program called Trap, Neuter, Release, and they only charge $10.
That's beautiful.
So it's really wonderful.
Yes. You just helped the bird population a little bit.
Well, the thing is I noticed that when you feed your animals, they don't really go up. I have another cat, and he goes out, but he doesn't bird. He doesn't go birding. He comes home to eat.
We rode our bicycles right down North 2nd Street this morning.
I saw you.
Right down the middle.
I saw that you were doing that.
Crazy.
I said, it's crazy. What is going on? I knew that was going to happen because I was at the neighborhood association meeting for Haight Village, and they made an announcement.
Yeah, this is the first. I'll probably do it now every year. It's just
Blocked off.
goes all the way from Auburn to State Street.
Wow.
The southbound lanes are no traffic, and there's a lot of people there. I was
Really?
surprised.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yep. We need to, I've been thinking about this, and I'm gonna need maybe a little push, but we need to do something as a church about promoting cycling as transportation. Do something a little bit more. I was thinking about just buying a building that has absolutely no parking whatsoever, and bike racks all the way around it. All right. So I forgot in August. I forgot to read you our One Spirit Nuju Busui poem for the month in August, and it goes with this. It goes with the talk today. So perception does not see; it constructs from a design to avoid pain and find pleasure. Perception builds a world apart from reality.
Should've waited a few more minutes.
Any other birthdays? Anniversaries? Any other news of good report? So Hafiz reports that some of the planets are hosting. The ear becomes alert when music says, I'm over here. The eye goes on duty, becomes viable, when beauty whistles and points to her dress on the ground. God has sent out 10,000 messengers announcing a great bash tonight. Some of the planets are hosting. Lead singer is God herself. But most of the couriers have become drunk, got waylaid, disoriented to the hilt with such exalted news, and can no longer remember the time and the place. What does that have to do with you? Plenty. Anybody need to be added to the prayer list?
Tristan?
So Rumi says, yesterday I was so clever. I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right, let's get quiet. We'll do this meditation. Just relax right where you're at. Relax, release, and let go. Focusing on the breath. We relax the body. Just allowing any tension to flow out and away. We ease our minds by releasing any worries or concerns. And we set the spirit free by letting go of any grievances. Focusing on the breath. Not trying to change it in any way. Just noticing how it works. Breathing in, we are filled. And breathing out, just naturally relax. Say to yourself, today I see the face of Christ in everyone I meet. Today I observe the Buddha nature in all who come my way. We pray to the ground of all being, to our Father, Mother, God. Your blessings on our sight today. Show us our errors and let us see beyond them. establish a new perception given through Spirit. To learn the lessons that actually surpass perception and return to truth. We ask today that the illusions that transcends all that we have made are healed. Today we choose to see a world forgiven, in which everyone shows us the face of Christ and teaches us that what we look upon belongs to us. We release suffering, knowing that God is and nothing else is. And we see that the face of Christ is merely a reflection of God. Wow. Today, our sight is blessed indeed. We share one vision. As we look upon the face of Him whose self is ours. We are one because of she who is the daughter of God, of Him who is the Son of God, who is truly our own identity. Amen and amen. Radical.
You getting up?
Oh, probably. Right?
Well, let me back the trolley up.
You can't
Right.
hold him down.
I know, I've got to walk around a little bit. So, years ago, when I started on this path, I heard someone say, think before you speak. I heard it before, but I never heard it. It went like in one ear and out the other. So, what the Buddha says about this is to practice skillful speech. And skillful speech it's in the 5 precepts. It just says, I will endeavor to take up the training practice of not lying. So this is where skillful speech starts. It actually starts in the thinking before we speak, but the practice begins with just not lying, not dissembling, not. When you think about it, then this thing starts to grow, and the connotations of it really are far-reaching. That we are endeavoring to tell the truth. And then I remember some years ago there was this short-lived movement, I guess, and maybe it's still going on, but it was called Radical Honesty. And the proponents were very strongly set in this idea that you tell the unvarnished truth no matter what. Even to the point of that truth being brutal. And there was, and I will tell you, I actually read the book, and there were a lot of things in the book that really had some validity, that made sense. But I just couldn't get over this idea that it would be helpful to say things to people that were hurtful. I'm having a hard time. How do I balance this? How do I say that it can be? And you know, there were some arguments about it. You know, you're just revealing something that they needed to know anyway. But so here is, I had Greg Pierce was his name. He's passed now, but he was Jeff's sponsor. Jeff was my sponsor, and he said, the first thing that we ask ourselves before we speak is, what I'm going to say, is it, first of all, the truth? Is it real? Is it the truth? Second, is it helpful? And third, is it kind? So this kind thing then, that really kind of stuck with me, is this idea of kindness. And think about, just consider, generally when we are like in social situations, we're trained to a certain extent to speak kind of in a positive way. And it's not, well, at least, I don't know, I guess we see it from time to time, but most of the time we have some consideration for others who are with us when we speak. But given a little bit of irritation, given a little poking, a little bit of disagreement, we may find ourselves, or maybe someone else in the conversation, starts to get a little bit unkind. And then it can actually, of course, it can get worse from there until there's like this argument going back and forth that's really not productive. And I like to debate because I like to think about these ideas, right? So we've talked about this a number of times before, that when someone comes to us and they say something that we disagree with, the best course of action is not to give our opinion at that point. The best course, actually the very best course of action is not to have an opinion about it one way or another. But we do. It just happens, right? So, but rather than argue our point right off the bat, the best course of action is to say, you may be right. Tell me more about that. And then they start telling you. They'll tell you. Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to tell you more about their point of view, right? So they tell you more. And then after they tell you more, go on. Tell me some more. And listen again. And listen, this is not a technique. This is not a way to change someone's mind. This is not some kind of trick. When we listen to what they say, we want to listen with an open mind. Even though many of the things they say are going to just reinforce our own opinion, we try, we endeavor to open our minds. And when they have said everything that they need to say, we then make another choice. And again, we may want to consider our words before we speak them. So we may say nothing. What the Buddhists call noble silence may suffice. We may say, you know what? I need to think about that for a while. That's like an easy way out of it, right? I need to think about that for a while. Or we may say, you know, I actually never did think about it that way before. It's interesting. And as I said, you may be right. But have you ever thought about it like this? And then we tell them what we think. As calmly as we can. Right? Now, how to decide? How to decide which way to go? What path are we going to go down? I will say this, and I repeat this all the time. The ego will choose wrongly. The ego will choose the wrong response. So we've already done such a good job. We're in this process, we've done such a good job now. We haven't allowed the ego just to start spitting out all of its recitations and all of its opinions. So let's keep it up. We ask spirit. We ask that spirit within, the spirit within who knows what is the truth, who knows what is necessary, and who knows what will be kind. And we allow that guidance to make the decision for which way we go with it. These opinions interfere with our ability to be of service. So I said, well, wait a minute. I've got a right. I have a right to my opinions. And you know, there are a number of things that people say about opinions that I will not repeat here. You can probably think of one or two. But here's what I have found. When I am so attached to my opinion, the first thing is my mind is closed. My mind is not closed. The second thing is this continual interference. It keeps me from actually seeing the path to service. And what I have found is that service is the way that I get to live a fulfilling life. People say, well, you know, some of these things are very important and we have to take a stand. And perhaps we do. But so here is how we kind of figure this out. And the recovery programs have kind of figured it out too. And what they say about this is that they will have no opinion on outside issues. And the reason is so that it doesn't cause public controversy. So this is this beautiful kind of measure for us to use to say, all right, so how many opinions am I running around with right now that have absolutely nothing to do, first of all, that really have absolutely nothing to do with me, and certainly have nothing to do with my purpose? So how the recovery programs handle it is, those things that are outside of the scope of what that program is about aren't talked about. No one opines. I knew I was going to get to use that word. So then how do we apply this? We ask ourselves in this moment of being quiet, we ask ourselves, what I'm about to say, does it move my purpose forward? Or does it impair my purpose? And so the three questions are tied up in this. It can't, if I have a purpose of service, and when I say that, I'm talking about for myself. My purpose of service is exactly what the Course in Miracles says when it says, I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to do the will of He who sent me. So this tells me how, so these gives me the measuring, because again, the ego wants to get in there and interfere. The ego wants to deceive me. And of course, when I talk about ego here, I'm not talking about some model of the healthy ego that some psychoanalysts may want you to develop. I am talking about the ego in terms of that thought system within us that continually tells us that we are alone, that continually tells us we're on our own, that we are indeed at the mercy of a dangerous world. Separated, isolated, apart from. And this mindset is really, it arises out of a genetic imperative. It is our ancient genes are speaking to us subconsciously. That drive for survival at all costs. The drive for survival at all costs has turned itself into a drive to seek pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. So we see how it moved, right? The genes want to keep going. You know what? I'm just going to tell you, your genes, the genes that are in you, have absolutely no care whatsoever for you as an individual body. They are programmed and care only about the whole genetic stream moving on. So a couple of them being killed off, a couple million of them being killed off has absolutely no impact whatsoever on the genes' drive to continue this stream. The problem is they are not as smart, or let's just say this, they're not aware enough to know that we have passed the point as humans where they are helpful to us, where that drive is helpful to us anymore. It's helpful up to a point. But what needs to happen now is we need to consciously evolve past that genetic imperative. And that conscious step past that genetic imperative is the step to the place where we say, I am not alone. I am not alone. I'm with you. I'm with, let's just start, I'm with humanity. We may not be able to get that big in our minds right now. I mean, sometimes because we have a lot of things that are built into us from our upbringing that tells us that this part of humanity is different. But just realize that and here's the odd thing, and here's how you can tell that it's not valid. Because every person in every group of people who are focused on that idea have a different idea of who it is that they are apart from. And all of us have our own kind of scenario that we've played out, and it's so interesting. And we know when we do a good inventory, when we do a good self-examination, that we've got a friend. We have a friend. We have a confidant, perhaps. We've got this good friend. We talk to them. We go to that good friend and we tell them our opinions. We gossip with that good friend. We align ourselves with them. They are our ally. But then they do something. And they do something. And they break the contract in some way, the contract that we have with them. And as we've discussed before, sometimes that contract is just in our mind, and we have not discussed the terms of the contract with them in any way whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But we have an idea in our mind about how they're supposed to act, what they're supposed to say, who they're supposed to hang out with, when they're supposed to be with us, and what they're supposed to do for us. And oh my, they go outside the contract, and we get upset. So what do? We go over to our other friend, and we have a conversation with our other friend, and give them our opinion of what just happened. And oh, it's so good. It's so good. I can remember getting a phone call from one of my friends, and he had had an argument with his wife, and he said, I can't believe, man, she just did this again. I said, it just keeps, and he tells me the story, right? And my immediate reaction is, oh my God, what's wrong with her? This woman is crazy. What? I can't believe that she did that to him. But listen, I have some training. So I stop myself from commiserating with this guy. And I say, oh, wait. Tell me again what happened? Do you remember? Do you remember a point when the argument started where you had this opportunity where you could say, oh, wait. I'm sorry. Wait, let's stop right now. Was there a point where you knew that you had done something you shouldn't have done or said something you shouldn't have done? Was there a point so that then you could say, wait, I'm sorry, I was wrong when I said that right there. And you know, we've all had it when we're in there. There's a point in the argument where we can stop and we can say, oh, wait a minute, where am I going with this? And actually say it out loud. And he knew what his part was. He knew what his part was. I said, now tell me something else. what was going on? What were you going? Did you have any plans for the night? He said, yes, yes. He said, we were going out to dinner. We were going to go to a movie, and then who knows what might happen after that. I said, okay. I'm going to give you a suggestion. Go apart for a moment. Think about what you did and what your role in this was. And then go to her and simply take your part. Simply say, when I said this, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And then at an appropriate moment, go away and do not expect anything. Do not expect anything to come back. Do not expect her to take her part. Do not expect her to say, oh no, honey, I was the one that was wrong. Do not expect that. Just go away for a moment and then see if you can get back to the place in your mind where you were before the offense occurred. To go back to the state of mind you were in when you were anticipating a pleasant evening. When you were thinking about, yes, where you're going to go to dinner, what movie you're going to see. And that feeling you had of knowing that this was just going to be a nice time that you were going to have with each other. Put that back in your mind. And then after a little while say, honey, are you ready to go? See what happens. He was of the opinion that he had been injured. He was of the opinion that his wife had gone outside the contract. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. So this is the key to forgiveness as laid out in the Course in Miracles. That to truly forgive, we have to go back to the state of mind we were in before the offense occurred. Andy has a great story he can tell. I won't tell his story today. Tell the story about riding the bikes and somebody says something and you said good morning and the other people said, why'd you say that? Didn't you hear what they said to us? Our perception is fooling us all the time. We are mishearing. We are misseeing. Is that a word? I just made it a word. We are mistaken. Because what the Course says, and actually what Jesus said, is that if we are not seeing love, then we are mistaken. So my misperception says this. You are attacking me. You are attacking me. If you're not attacking me now, you will soon be attacking me. So I better gird my loins. Archaic speech. I better get my armor on. Because I am under threat. But what's really going on, only two things can be going on. Fear or love. There's only two things that can be happening. Either I'm extending love, or I'm afraid. Either I'm extending love, or I'm asking for love. And so now if I can see that in myself, then I can start to see it in those around me. The only reason that the person is lying, there's only one real reason. We can think of all kinds of things, manipulation. They want to, make themselves feel better. They want to make themselves seem more important. They want to get on your side. I mean, the only reason that people don't tell the truth is because they are afraid that the truth is somehow either going to cheat them out of some pleasure that they're trying to get, or the truth is going to cause pain. In other words, fear of loss, fear of not getting what they want. So, the answer to lying is to just know that love will save whatever it is that we think we need. What will happen is when we can extend love, the need for something less than love falls away. So it's okay. Yes, I may not get the approval of this person. I may not actually be able to fool them, to trick them into doing some kind of deal with me where I make a bunch of money. But if I extend love, that will no longer be important to me. And I could actually, perhaps, this is a stretch, I could perhaps want to make a business deal in which all of the parties benefit. I think this is the biggest reason why we don't see as much of Stephen Covey's work as we used to a decade ago, is because people could not get their minds around the idea of doing business in a win-win kind of mentality. Let me get everything that I can get, because if I don't, somebody else will. Gossip. Gossip. Yeah, it's harmful. People get their feelings hurt. What did the monk? The man goes to the monk and he says, "I've gossiped about my friend. I feel terrible. I don't know what to do." And he said, "Listen, go to the farmer over there, buy a chicken, wring its neck, and bring it back to me. And as you bring it back to me, pluck the feathers." So he does. Brings its neck, by the way. I used to watch my grandma do that. That's very disturbing. He walks back to the monk and gives him this defeathered chicken, and he says, "Now, go back and pick up every feather along the path." He says, "It's impossible. It's impossible. The wind has picked up those feathers and scattered them everywhere." And he said, "So it is with gossip. You cannot fix it. You cannot pick up all the feathers. They're out there. They get away." So sometimes we don't think we're gossiping. Sometimes we think, well, listen, this isn't gossip right now. I just want to tell you this story so you understand this person, so maybe you can help them. It's gossip. Jack Kornfield said his partner had a revelation in his meditation, and he decided that he was going to go on this month-long exercise, and he was not going to speak about any person who wasn't present, even if it was a positive comment. He wasn't going to speak about them at all. He said it cut his conversations more than in half. But here's what I think is a good practice. If we are tempted to gossip, we need to find noble silence. We need to just be quiet. It's right on the tip of our tongue. We can stop. We can stop. And a lot of times we don't notice it until we get in the middle of it. We get in the middle of it and say, "Oh, somehow this turned from, I never intended it to be, but now I really feel like it is." And there's a moment where we can decide to walk it back, or we can press forward. But I don't know why, but sometimes it's just delicious to keep going on with it. But it turns bitter. So, if we get involved in a conversation where someone is being talked about, one thing we can do is be the person to say the positive thing about the one who is not present. Let us be that person's advocate in the discussion. This happened to me. I was almost militant in my defense of the purity of Narcotics Anonymous. I was selected to be the regional representative to the World Service Conference. And I was a year short of the clean time required, but they said, "Okay, go ahead and do it anyway." And we went, and we were at that time, we were just worried that we were going to make it as a fellowship, and so we tried to cut all the anybody who was diluting the message or anything that was any outside stuff that came in. We would be, pound on the table and tell people to stop it. And well, so I go to the World Service Conference, and that night they would take us out to different meetings. We'd go to a speaker meeting, this guy spoke, and his message was all over the place. I had plenty of opinions about it. And I said to the guy who took me to the meeting afterwards, I said, man, that wasn't any message, that's something else. He said, yeah, I know, he's working on it. He said, I know, he's working on it. But you know what? He is really, really good with a newcomer. He is so kind. He wraps them up and he keeps them close. Whew. So we say something positive about the person who's not present. Perhaps we just change the subject. We just change the subject. One time at church, Gordy was at church, and we were talking to Gordy, and this person came up, and I was not happy with this person. They had a lot of clean time, and I thought they really were doing a bad job. And I said something about it, and Gordy didn't even hear it. He looked up there and he said, you know, I think Eileen is looking for me over there. And he just walked away. And I looked at Jeff, and I said, he just kicked my ass. Yep. So I had a number of people working for me in the company. And all the time, people would come to me and complain about their coworkers. Everybody wants to come to the boss and tell them about their coworkers. So this and that and the other thing. And I learned this from Stephen Covey, by the way. It's really, so somebody comes to me and they tell me, she did thus and so, and we really got a problem. We've got to do something about this. And I said, well, I remembered what Stephen Covey said. So I repeated it. I said, you may be right. Let's go talk to her about it right now. Man, that is the thing that I think probably the most effective thing that I ever did to stop that kind of stuff. After I did that a couple of times, people stopped bringing that stuff to me. I never had one person say, okay, let's go get her. Nobody wants to do that. So, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? That's enough. Thank you.